You would think that all the headlines in the papers today would be unity in Philadelphia. Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine bring a united group of Democrats to Philadelphia. Optimism, unity, the push for it. Instead, here's a headline in this morning's Washington Post. DNC chair pushed out over email leak. Here is the banner front page in the New York Post. Overboard. DNC boss tossed out amid leak scandal. That's the whole conversation. That's what people are talking about. And that's not the whole story. Yeah, the whole story is Debbie Wasserman Schultz was forced to resign yesterday, but she's allowed to stay in her job and to preside over this convention, to open the convention, to close the convention, and in between to give a speech to the delegates, despite the fact that the emails that were leaked by or sent to the media, released by WikiLeaks, 20,000 of them on Friday, show that, in fact, Debbie Wasserman Schultz had done everything Bernie Sanders had said she was doing. She was using the DNC to promote the candidacy of Hillary Clinton and undermine the candidacy of Bernie Sanders. And despite that, rigging the system, tilting the deck in support of Hillary Clinton, despite that, forced to resign, yes, but allowed to stay on and preside over this convention, which I believe is a huge, huge, huge mistake. And the Clinton people ought to be more pissed off than the Bernie Sanders people, because this is Hillary's convention. And this convention should be about Hillary and about Tim Kaine, and instead it's all about Debbie Wasserman Schultz. I don't get it. I don't know why they allowed her to stay on. And
it's weird.
I said it in the first hour. I'll tell you again. I was on CNN. I was on CNN yesterday from 2 o'clock in the morning, afternoon rather, not morning, until 10 o'clock at night. And the only thing we talked about was Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Didn't talk about Tim Kaine. Didn't talk about Hillary Clinton. A little bit about Donald Trump. Most of it was about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that's what people are going to be talking about.
So you
today.
think about the DNC trying to sabotage Bernie, they really sabotaged their own party, because this was the big weekend for Tim Kaine.
Now, one other people who has been writing about this a lot, right?
Yeah.
And who maybe helped to break the story is Zed Jalani from The Intercept, who it's impossible to get through security here. So, but Zed joins us on our news line this morning here in Philadelphia. Hi, Zed. Good to have you with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Bill.
All right. So, tell us first of all what I want to ask you about who hacked and everything. But that, to me, that's less important than what do these emails show?
Well, it's interesting. You could say that the email show that dog bites man, but the interesting thing about dog bites man is you always need the evidence, right? You need the photograph, or you need the anecdote from the mailman, that was bitten by the dog. And basically, what this shows is what a lot of people suspected, is that top staffers at the DNC, including communications staff, the CEO, Debbie Wasserman Schultz herself, were biased against Bernie Sanders. They were mocking his campaign. They were promoting stories against Bernie Sanders, including against his religious faith. They were mocking up emails calling for him, ending his campaign in April, long before the campaign had actually ended. We saw a DNC that was not impartial, did not play the role that it was claiming it was playing in public.
They also were mocking the fact that he wasn't a real Democrat, right?
Absolutely. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I believe she responded to a complaint of Bernie Sanders about the process by basically, mocking his party affiliation, as if, the Democratic Party doesn't want new people joining the party and energizing the base. And basically, she's acting as if it's a private club, right? And if you're in the club, you're good. But if you want to join, it's not allowed, right? And that's really not the mentality that I think people would say that you need to grow a political party.
Are these emails just emails from staffers, or was there any evidence that there was some connection or direction from on high?
Well, basically, we had maybe, I think, 7 or 8 accounts that were successfully hacked in this leak. So we saw basically top communications staff, some communications between the communications staff and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and between the CEO, Amy Dacey, and also Donna Brazil is the vice chair, who's now become the interim chair of the party. So I think because of that, because the communications staff were talking to various people, we saw emails from them as well. But it was basically the communications staff's emails who were the ones that were hacked.
Right. There was also rumors at one time that the Democratic National Committee was coordinating with the Clinton campaign in terms of raising money, and that some of their money was actually being siphoned into the Clinton campaign indirectly, maybe somehow. Evidence of that in the emails?
I don't think that we have so much about, what was called the Victory Fund in between how the Clinton campaign was raising. There are some good articles about that out there, though, that basically show that while Clinton was claiming she was raising money for the party, maybe, single-digit percentage of that money was actually going to the political party. It was primarily going to her campaign. So there's some good articles about that out there, but I don't think these emails show a whole lot on that.
One of the other things that I think the emails showed is we remember in the Nevada caucuses where there was the violent outbreak among Bernie Sanders supporters of chair throwing, right? That was the narrative, which turned out to be completely untrue. Was that addressed in the emails?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. What's fascinating is that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, senior communications staff, including the communications director of the DNC, had all basically instantly believed the spin about Nevada, instantly started saying there was violence. I believe at one point, Debbie Wasserman Schultz called Bernie's campaign manager scummy and a liar because he denied that violence. And as we all know, now that it's been investigated, there's even a Snopes.com article about it, there was no violence at the Nevada City Convention. There were no Bernie people who did anything more than have a few boos and the sort of unruly stuff you normally see at a state convention. It's shocking, but it's not too shocking, right? That they would instantly pick up an anti-Bernie Sanders narrative despite any lack of evidence and just run with it.
The Hillary Clinton's campaign manager yesterday said what we should be talking about is that Russia was behind this. This is Vladimir Putin attempting to help Donald Trump's campaign. And that's the story, not the, if you will, the bias of the DNC staff for Hillary Clinton. What evidence do we have that this was these were Russian hackers?
Well, I think there was an original wave of hacks that happened, a month or two ago, and at that point, I believe the DNC brought in a security firm that had made some claims that it may have been Russian in origin. However, they didn't present any evidence for the claims, and honestly, it may have been educated guesswork on their part. So I would be hesitant to make that claim that the Clinton campaign made, and second of all, it's also curious to see the Clinton campaign defending the DNC, right? If the DNC and the Clinton campaign are separate organizations, and if the DNC was biased against Bernie or something, that really shouldn't be something the Clinton campaign should be coming in and defending, right, if they're separate organizations. So it's interesting that they instantly jump to this, what right now is a conspiracy theory, it's not substantiated, rather than actually talking about the content of what happened.
That's an excellent point. I hadn't thought of that yesterday. But, also to me, and I said this a little earlier, I believe it was the Russians, okay? I'm willing to believe it was the Russians. Whether it was Putin trying to help Donald Trump or whatever, we've had Russian hackers before and seen evidence of that. But to me, that's beside the point. It's not the issue here for Democrats and for this convention is not whether it was the Russians or the Japanese or the Polish or the Filipinos, right? It's the fact that this proves that what Bernie Sanders was saying about the DNC being rigged against him was true, right? Whoever, Julian Assange or whoever got the information to us, that's the truth, and that's what the people ought to be focusing on. Zed?
That's absolutely true, and historically that's something you often see. When there's a message put out there that people don't like, they attack the messenger, right, rather than looking at the substance of the content, and that's always been the case, and that's been the case with a lot of the WikiLeaks leaks prior to this, whether they be about, for example, U.S. embassy cables that were, showing behavior that the U.S. government didn't like, or, it's happened again and again historically that the source and the press itself has been attacked rather than the substance of what they're reporting. And I think the substance of what they're reporting has made an impact. I mean, Deputy Wasserman Schultz had decided to resign, so obviously, these emails were legitimate. They were true.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that they have to address rather than, putting out theories about how they were leaked.
Yeah, it's like somebody robbed a bank, right? And they had a video of this guy robbing the bank. And when they catch him, he says, "Oh, but that video was taken by an undocumented American, undocumented immigrant, right?" Well, it doesn't matter.
Actually, what's been done in a lot of these police shootings is the police have gone after the person who taped it and tried to charge them with something, right? Rather than address the police brutality in the actual video, right? It's unfortunately an eerie parallel there.
Wow, yeah.